What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some news concerning Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz. I want to revisit that fight because what we know now from what both fighters have said about the first fight, and we've learned a lot of things about that. We've learned a lot of things concerning Anthony Joshua. We know a lot of things concerning Andy Ruiz. And that night, I just want to counterpunch some things that really needs to be looked into. And those are the knockdowns themselves. Andy Ruiz put on a great performance. And he was very smart and clever, and I'm going to explain why. See, everyone knows I really bashed Deontay Wilder for the blatant illegal rabbit punches that he hit, behind the head punches that he hit Luis Ortiz with. Of course, we know that. I've been that guy to, call at people out. And first of all, Andy Ruiz didn't do it. He didn't do it blatantly. He did it subtly. What Andy Ruiz done, he didn't go and just throw blatant behind the head punches. No, he didn't do that. He threw about 2 or 3 legal punches, then became an over the head punch. Okay? Or he threw a legal punch, then he threw 2 or 3 more that'll kind of muddy the waters, so to speak, on what you're really seeing. Okay, let me explain. The third round, of course, Joshua put him down with a left hook. Dropped him. First time he ever been down. He was more in shock. And I think that shock more or less woke him up. Like the adrenaline was like, okay, you know what I mean? So he got up. And he caught Joshua with a legal left hook to the temple, okay? Right side of its temple, he caught him right here, and you could tell it affected Joshua. Right then and there, it affected him, no doubt about it. And when he started throwing those punches, it was more like abrasion punches going, but that left hook did that particular damage, okay? The initial damage was that left hook that caught him perfectly to the temple, disembobulated him, and he threw a parade of punches, and he went down, basically, kind of fell from a bunch of punches. Okay, now that's legitimate to me. The second knockdown in that round, however, was not, because if you noticed, Joshua was gassed. Joshua really wasn't fighting. He should have took the rest of that round off to really recuperate, but he didn't. He was in the corner. And Ruiz threw a throwaway left hook to land a solid right hand. So he threw a left hook, landed a right hand, gave him another left hook, went straight up the pipe through his guard, hit him, right? Joshua was still up because that's when Joshua grabbed him. When Joshua grabbed him, he broke free, okay, and went wide over the head. When he went wide over the head, that's when Joshua fell. And while he was falling, he punched him with a jab. That was the second knockdown. If you guys look at this, this is accurate. I had to see it and watch it and study it many times. Okay? So his second knockdown was from an illegal blow. But again, you're muddying the waters because what you saw, sure, he got hurt from these other punches, but he was still up. What you don't want to do, any ref, and I think referees are just human like anybody else. They get hyped by the crowd of when they're first of all, they have the front row of what's going on. And they can see a guy get hit, but then they justify, okay, well, you hit him behind the head, but at first you hit him with a shot. So therefore you hit him with the shot. Then you hit him with a behind the head punch, but he's down on the ground. So what am I going to do? Right? You don't want to affect the flow of the fight, but then you want to referee it right. Okay? That's what happened in the second knockdown. Third knockdown was absolutely the same. The third knockdown, Joshua and Ruiz, they traded left hooks. And when they traded left hooks, it looks like Joshua got the better of him. But then Joshua threw a jab and he timed it perfectly by hitting him where? Right behind the head. So when Joshua threw that left, boom, he went right behind the head. That punch discombobulated Joshua. But wait, there's more. If you look closely, Joshua was bent over. When he was bent over, he hit him behind the head, right? But the initial work was done. Now you look at it. This is the 7th round. He drops him, right? Catches him with that overhead right hand, that was an illegal punch. That's what Joshua was talking about. And it just shows you the mentality of someone like Joshua that doesn't like to go into the complaining mode. See, a lot of people bash him for, oh, now you're making excuses. I think, I don't think he's complaining. He's just explaining. Yeah, excuses are for losers. I agree. But at the end of the day, what really happened? He got hit behind the head once again in the 7th round, like he did in the 2nd round, in the 3rd round, right, of the 2nd knockdown. He got hit with a massive right hand, same area, okay? Then when he bent over, he got hit with the left again. Down goes Joshua, okay? Now, Joshua gets up, and he goes for an attack himself, and what happens? He gets hit behind the head again. That's exactly what happened. Of course, some of those punches now were legal. Because one thing about Ruiz, he throws 4 or 5 punches. So if you throw 4 punches and 3 of them are legal and 1 of them aren't, that's the best way to do it. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. And Ruiz did it right. He didn't do it blatantly like Deontay. Oh, push, push. Like he did Ruiz, just batter him to the ground, didn't even matter where he hit him. He hit him all behind the head. Nobody gave a damn. Not the ref didn't give a shit, right? They didn't care about that. But that's what happens when you have that type of refereeing, okay? And of course, they stopped the fight. You can make your own opinion about that. That's not what this video is about. This video is to show you that those two out of those 4 knockdowns, okay? Well, actually 3. So the 2nd knockdown, the 3rd knockdown, and then the 4th knockdown, was Anthony Joshua hurt in that fight? Did he get hurt in that fight? Yes, he did. Now the question of him, what his percentile was going in the fight, I couldn't tell you that. We don't know. Only Joshua could honestly tell you that, but if he's going to honestly do it, I doubt he will by now. He'll tell you everything was fine, just to save face. But you don't enter. When someone's making your introduction, people, I want you to listen to me. When someone's making your introduction, and this is your first time in America, okay, your first time in America, why would you be laying on the ropes like this with somebody massaging your neck? That's when it's time for you to take off your robe, get loose, show that you're alive. He's just like sitting there with his hands on this rope. It's almost symbolic to the way that his hands were put on the ropes. He put his arms on the ropes when the guy was asking him if he was ready. He was shaking his head, yeah, but he was like, well, what the fuck? All right? Even though the ref told him to move back there, go good back, step back. But it was almost like, dude, he was at the same condition or the same posture as he was when he first began the fight. I have never seen a boxer that was sitting with his arms on the rope when they're calling his introduction. If you guys seen that before, let me know. I never seen that. Because your nerves, your eyelashes feel like the barbed wire. You know what I mean? They feel like they're turning. Because you're nervous. Those are the type of things that go through your mind, the type of adrenaline. If you ever been in the ring before, and if you're ever going to fight anyone, you feel that type of intensity. You feel that type of adrenaline of, okay, this is going down now. So, we look at this fight, and I have to say that this fight was very interesting because of many reasons. It was an interesting recipe of disaster for Anthony Joshua. Now, One thing I must add about Ruiz, I don't think Ruiz is really a dirty fighter, but I think he's a smart enough fighter to be dirty at certain times. I think he's the type of dude, he has enough experience to know, look, if a punch can land, it don't matter where it lands as long as it lands. You know, because a lot of referees will let you go behind the punch behind the head as long as you don't just throw that one punch. Because what happens with a lot of fighters when they go to throw an illegal shot, it's intentional, so it's singular. It's one punch. You know, it's that kind of push. Okay, that's a blatant, obvious behind the head punch. But if you throw a punch, pop, 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 you know, it's not as noticeable as that one punch, that one intentional punch. You know, ask Bernard Hopkins about stuff like that because he was king at it. That came from, you know, a lot of people thought he was dirty. Yeah, he was a dirty fighter, but it's not what you do, it's how you do it. You know, you're only dirty is if the referee sees it. And obviously this referee didn't see shit. He didn't see none of these overhand punches. These were some overhand shots. Andy Ruiz in these seventh rounds, he probably threw, well, let's forget through. He probably landed at least 10 over the head punches. At least 10. And I looked at it, I'm like, okay, it's because of his size, you know, his height versus Joshua's height. Now I thought that at first, and I'm like, no, because he's clearly, if you hit a guy and you're hitting your target, there's no sense to loop shots if you're already landing in the front. Let me say that again. If you're punching a guy and you got a guy hurt, there's no reason you should go behind the guard and punch him in behind the head when you're already hitting him in the face. So in other words, if you hit a guy with a left, a right, a left hook, and then you go, your right goes like significantly wider than those other three shots, you're trying to pull a fast one, and it worked. It worked for Ruiz. I'm not mad at him, but I just need to state the facts because it's counterpunch. We got to counterpunch it. You know what I mean? We got to really be real about what's going on. So the next fight, I think that if Team Josh was smart, they would regulate the type of referee they have, or inform the referee that, hey, the last fight, it was a lot of fouls, a lot of behind the head punches. Now, I'm not just saying that just to make an excuse for Joshua. I'm saying this for a reason. Pritchard Colon is a guy that's a vegetable. He was an undefeated fighter like Anthony Joshua. Okay? Not as decorated, no, nothing like that, but he was a pro. And he got hit behind the head. He felt dizzy. He fell into a coma. When he woke up, he was a vegetable. And he's a vegetable to this day. So certain people can take certain shots, obviously. You know, you can call them chinny. You can call them this or that or whatever. Tougher, weaker. But there's a reason why these punches are illegal. And now we bring in the chance of Joshua not being at 100%, because I don't believe he was 100% in that ring. A lot of people don't. You know what I'm saying? That he just wasn't right. So we've already covered that, right? So meaning that whatever was wrong with him, that's adding more insult to injury. So we don't know how close. Not even Joshua. You know, only the good man upstairs, God above, knows how close he was to having permanent damage in that ring due to whatever injury that he had or whatever condition he had before going into the ring. Okay? So that's my counterpunch on this subject. You know, of course, I had to revisit this fight to break it down. You guys tell me what you think about this particular subject. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Stay tuned. Live feed tonight with Errol Spence and Sean Porter. We'll see who wins, and may the best man win. Peace.